Very good morning, everyone. Glad to see you all here. And before I want to start, I want to say thank you. And I want to say thank you to Luis Amaral, Loic Petras, and Charles Valley, because I have been participating more or less in all the efforts they have done for the last 6 months. And I want to say thank you very much, because I know you did an amazing job, tirelessly. I was before yesterday calling Louis 6:30. Louis, I need a ticket to get from Cameroon into Malabo into here. Louis said, done, 30 seconds later. So thank you very much to all three of you. You do an amazing job here. So my name is Michael Runkel, and I want to go a little bit back in time so you know a little bit where it all started. Imagine the following picture, 1993, March 8. The Truce of Paris was been signed between the Khmer Rouge and the government of Cambodia in Paris. And for me, had nothing to do with photography. I went directly there because it was a dream for me in the time of Indiana Jones to see the temples of Angkor. Fly in, rough place, into Siem Reap with two photographers from New Zealand. And because it was pretty greedy to get into the temples, we decided to hire motorbikes, going around the airport through the fields where at nighttime, it was a truce, but at nighttime they were still fighting every day. But we said, okay, we're gonna go through the fields, left and right minefields, only through the pass, and entered on the side to go to see the temples of Angkor. And there, for the next 6 days, I traveled in all these temples every morning, sunrise to sunset, and they showed me this incredible beauty, what happens if you take nice photos, if you take the nice angles, and what you can do actually with photography, because I never had any contact with that before. I was just taking a point-and-shoot camera. And you imagine, when most of you've been to Angkor, but I was one of the first people to enter that place, see this incredible, beautiful place, and take photos. And for me, this was the game changer of my life. It was so fantastically beautiful. Since then, I have been taking about 3.5 million photos. I have been to a bit more than 1,300 of the MTP provinces. And I have several thousand publications, all magazines, newspapers, wherever, around the world, always trying to show the beauty of the world, all the different cultures, all the different traditions, and always, even if it's a rough place, to show the nice things about these places. That has been all my life, my intention for the last 30 years. And I'm here today to give you a little introduction how you could take nice photos as well. How you, no matter if you take your mobile or you have SLR cameras, when you go out traveling, you take maybe after that a little bit nicer photos. So I will go with you through what I'm going to talk about, because it has to be not too much technical, but some of the technical issues, how a camera works. We see, first of all, the color and the light. We see the depth of field. If you have never heard of that, I will introduce you to that. The perspective, which is very important for take nice photos. The rule of two-thirds, how to photograph moving subjects, especially when you're on festivals, when you see any sort of like horse riding, how to take them in that nice photos and sharp photos. And very important nowadays, because it's such a game changer, how to take photos with drones. There's also some things it's easily done wrong, and I will show you and tell you a little bit about that. And then further takeaways for you, for all of you, that when you go here, that maybe you take nicer photos later on. So let's start with color and light. And I have to start, I'm not talking about the photography right now, I'm talking what I do first. Whenever I prepare a trip, the camera is the last thing. But the first thing is, how is the weather going to be there? How likely is it that I have good light? Because imagine you go one day to Paris and it's a rainy day and you want to see the sights in Paris. A rainy day is a rainy day. It's never really nice. But if I go on a sunny day, I have a complete different feeling about the photos I'm gonna take. And therefore, if I'm gonna go to any sort of expedition, any sort of trip I'm gonna do, I first look, okay, is it rainy season? Is it dry season? Here in the Sahel zone and in the Sahara, is the harmattan coming? For example, if you go to Ghana, you go to Benin, you go in January, February, the harmattan is really all over the sky. Maybe some of you experienced that, and it's all hazy and dusty. So I would avoid that situation. I would avoid that time of the year because I rather want a blue sky. And for me, doing that commercially, imagine no client, no tour operator would ever buy from me a photo with a dark sky, with a rainy sky, with a hazy sky. They want to have nice photos because that's what brings people to go to those places. So first thing is always really try to look how the light is, because that really makes it different. Therefore, the background of that is that you always try to have something colorful in your pictures. It makes a huge difference if you have nice bright colors or if it's all gray and shady and dark. So when you look at the color wheel, then you see the red, orange, and yellow. They are all much more vivid, much more vibrant than all the dark colors. I think it's normal. And knowing that as a background, you always have to remember, if you guys want to take nice photos, you take the photos early morning, late afternoon before the sun sets, or, I will show you that after, the blue hour. What that is, I will tell you later on. So when you go up early morning, especially in tropical areas, you will see there's always a chance you have some mist. And misty photos are always absolutely fascinating to take. The disadvantage is you have to get up really early. So that's something you can't avoid. But the photos you get out is just fabulous. And of course, late afternoon, you will have a complete different situation. Like here, Monument Valley, I think all of you know it. Early morning, 5:30, sun goes up, and you see all the mist between the towers. It's a complete different story if you go there at lunchtime. Same late afternoon, the orange, the yellow if you're in the desert. It makes such a nice, beautiful light. If you're at daytime and the sun is right in the horizon, is right up here, you will also always have more gray and not so beautiful sky as it's late afternoon. And you see here, this was late afternoon and it was pretty hazy, but the sun goes down and you can all see in the horizon how beautiful yellow it's gonna get. This is a Mundari tribe in South Sudan. They use smoke. So you see the smoke of the tribes there, and you see it's a fantastic place. So you would go there during the day, you can't take those photos, but this is early morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. The smoke comes up, the sun comes up, the light is very soft, and therefore you see all the silhouettes. And if you remember that, for taking photos, this is when you get the great shots. Similar situation, just in a different angle. So you see, this is a pretty flat place, so it's not too many colors there, but it changes when you have a person who has this red carpet around his body, and it completely changes the angle. It changes your how you feel about the photo. If he would not be there, it would be pretty flat. But you introduce the color, it's completely different. So, another thing, for those never heard of it, if you are in North America or in the South, like South Africa, hello? Yeah. So what happens is, it's called the blue hour. The blue hour happens always about 30 minutes after sunset. But not here on the equator. In the equator, the sun, when it sets, it's like 20 minutes later, it's pitch black. But if you would go nowadays anywhere in Italy, Spain, Europe, in the US, you wait, you have it needs to be a clear day, but after the sun has gone, 30 minutes later, there's the last illumination of the sky. And that's going to be super beautiful because you always get those very nice background. You always have this beautiful blue. And you look at the houses, once they get illuminated, that's Panama City, Sandy, it's for you. So you have all these, the illumination of the houses, and you only get that 30 minutes after sunset. And for you to know, if you don't know what time it actually happens, there are apps called Blue Hour. You can download it. I think they're also for free. And it's based on GPS, so you will get any place in the world. It will tell you exactly when the blue hour happens. So it's always like 10, 50 minutes. You need to be fast, but you will get all that sky in that period of time. Different place, but same thing. Here's the blue hour, and you have that last light really only coming back on that sky. So those photos, everybody can do it. You just have to know when to do them. And you're going to be happy because these are really always very special shots to do. Another thing, you go on festivals, you go on a traditional tribal area, you look at the colors there. Try to get the vibrant colors, try to look at that. We talked about before about the color wheel. Look how beautiful that looks. It's like a composition. That's a carnival in Rio. And you get out, I have photos where it was a dark blue. Would never be so impressive if you look at these colors, which is yellow and red. It's much more really attractive for your eyes. A place like this, on South Georgia, it's more difficult, but you take the close-up of the penguins and you see all the yellow. It's just shining out of the black and white. So just keep that in mind. Introduce the colors, always red, orange, yellow, and you will get really amazing photos of that. It's not very difficult, just easy to remember that. The second, a little bit more technical, it's a depth, but it's very important to remember that when you want to take nice portraits. So the depth of field is basically the sharpness of the closest and the furthest object in the distance. And to have that idea in the background, this is how a lens looks like. So anywhere inside your lens, in your photo camera, also in your mobile, it's just a bit different setup. You have a lens, and this is when you have a very sharp photo from the beginning to the distance. This is the lens you want to use for portraits. So, small hint. The small number on the aperture means good for portraits. High number on the aperture, good for landscape. Very easy. Small portraits and big number, 16, 20, 21, will be for landscape pictures. So what you could do in all your mobiles, you have a professional mode, go on aperture, and you can change it there. Or, for those who don't want to change it, all the new mobiles go on portrait mode, and it automatically will set up the aperture for you. So don't forget, you want to take nice photos of people, go into the portrait mode or aperture mode and change it there. In the SLRs it's different, as I just showed you. So, from the beginning to the end, sharp pictures. High aperture number, 16, 18, 20. And anything will become super sharp, nothing will be blurry. So if you take that, you will be pretty set up. If you want to take photos from people, that's a different story. So you go in the small aperture number, and the portrait mode, and you will get this beautiful, beautiful effect that the foreground is sharp, the background is unsharp. And that means always that the person, it will stick out. It will appear for you so much nicer because the background is blurred and you will see how great that effect is going to be. So always think that, because for you, this is what you take away. It's nice photos. That's why we all are here. We want to travel and we don't buy much stuff. We're not going on shopping tours to Dubai. We want to see the world, we want to experience it, and that's what we take back from our trips. Talking about photos, about portrait photos, the one thing is the depth of field, but the second is the approach. People who've been traveling with me, and there's a bunch of them here, they know when I do portrait photos, I never ask them, can I take a photo? And then I just stand there, say click, and I'm going. Why? In many places where people are used to that, they will stand like this. You know, they stand like in the army. So what you would do is you interact with people. And I can tell you, for more than 30 years of experience in every part of the world, be open, be friendly, be respectful to people, be kind, give them something back. And I promise you, it will be always rewarding. It will be something for you, but also for them. And I would do anything stupid just to make them smile, to make them happy. And some people have experienced it. I dance with them. I dance with children. I do all sorts of stupid things. But you know, they're happy. They are happy that I come and this foreigner is not just standing there, just want a photo, thank you, bye. You know, you interact with them and all of you can do it. But think about them. They will be happy as well. Because here the people, you know, they always see the tourists coming and then they're going. But if you're friendly, it will be a different story. And you always will be rewarded. Not always. There are some countries which are not so open to photography. But in general, people will be happy that you can take photos of them if you show them the respect and the kindness. So, talking about that, you see again the depth of field. I have an open lens, small number, again, aperture, small number, portrait mode, but my focus is here. I've had several people, I focus on the first person, and you see how it sticks out. The other people are blurring the background. You get the full idea of the picture, but in the same moment, this first person, it really sticks out. And in addition, look at the colors. How great it is with that red face, how great it looks when it comes out like that. Different situation, same aperture. Look at the light. Another thing, when you take photos, if you have an opportunity, there's a hut. This was in Afghanistan, in a mosque, and you have some light shining on them. Go inside, just look that their face is illuminated. And you get some indirect light. Indirect light always is much nicer because it's not so harsh. If you have the direct face, it's always much harsher. This is indirect, and look how beautiful he's illuminated. Coming later. So this is a bit different. So it's not a portrait, but you want to show the entire person, and she sticks out from the scenery. And you have her standing in front of this beautiful scenery. And because I have a small aperture, she will stick out so much more if I would have a high aperture or a medium aperture. Different angle. Quickly, background story for that. They do this in South Sudan. It's a tribe called Mundaris. They do that to stimulate the cows to create more milk. And basically what they do, they blow in all the female vaginas every morning, because that creates a hormone called oxytocin, and the oxytocin basically creates more milk. And the people there, the tribe is basically living for milk. And so what they do is they create milk as much as possible, and then they milk it and they go directly there and drink it. But the idea behind, same thing, the person sticks out, or sticks in this case, but you know what I mean. It's you really see the effect on it. Yeah, bit higher aperture if you want not like to focus on one person there. If you have multiple people, then you have basically the sharpness fore and background in the picture. So keep it in mind, really small numbers on your scale, portrait mode, people, high numbers, landscape, or when you want to have all sharp. It's really very easy for you. Just remember that your photos will be different. So next is perspective. Also really an important issue. Perspective is how you get objects, people in perspective with the scenery around you. Important thing is, if this person would not stand here, it would be just a regular photo, but she stands here, and that's a complete different story, because you really see the perspective, how big it actually is, that person so small, and how big these rocks around will actually show it. Same here. See that small person here in comparison to the big rock. And you always can do it. We come to the objects. Just always try, when you take photos, put something in the foreground on the side, but you will always give people who look at those photos a different perspective, a different idea, how actually everything is combined together. Yeah, that's selfie, my only selfie here. But again, this is the big icebreaker, and you give that idea also of perspective from the big icebreaker, because I stand in front of it and the sign here. See here, person sits here, you have a complete different idea how deep that cliff is here, left and right. If she would not be here, it would be, again, a different story. Some people know who swim here. It's down here. You see the waterfall in Niger in the Air Mountains, and you see basically the two people, and you have an idea how the canyon looks like. Very easy, but if you keep that in mind, little hint, you will get better photos. If you don't have people, which happens often when you're basically in very remote areas, you travel by yourself, take objects. Here, there's not much apart of coconuts, so I walked all the way from back there to get all the way here, get the coconut, and basically show again the whole photo looks different. In addition, because you lose the line, because you look at the object here and your eyes follow to the island back there. Smallest chameleon in the world, if I take a close-up only from the chameleon, would be different. Because it could be 10 centimeters, could be 30 centimeters, but if you see it's only this fingertip, if you look at your fingertip, it's probably only 1 centimeter. But that's, again, if you think about that, you will always have a different relation, and you always can show the dimension in a different way. Different story. Also, if you don't have any object, use any sort of caves, of windows, to give it a frame. If you look at this picture, it looks like you're looking like in a television into the desert. You're looking into somewhere. And if you do that, the pictures coming out will be, again, super cool when you try to find that sort of angle. You need, for that, always a wide angle lens. If you have a regular angle, it will not work so much. Here, I had nothing, but if I only would have the palm tree, then I would not really could give the dimension, but I sat down in the jungle, and I used the big leaves around me to create that sort of window, looking on the person climbing up on the top of the trees. The third perspective, the third aspect of perspective, is geometrical. And geometrical means everywhere we have a line to follow, where your eyes follow a line, you will automatically get a much more interesting view. So if you have a long street, you have a river, you have all sorts of lines, try to get it straight and try to get it centered. So you will have a different view. Your eyes, your brain will receive it in a different way. So you see the line, your eyes goes here from the right to the left. Normally, just for your information, normally the eye goes from left to the right. In this case, when you don't have that angle, you have to use what you are. That's travel photography. You have to be always flexible. But you look, the camel is coming, it takes one line, your eye goes from here and it follows over there. Same here, long straight road of bones in Siberia. And you don't have anything like that. You just use the lines in the going into nowhere. You can do that. You just have to adapt to the situation. So another easy hint was developed from Leonardo da Vinci, called the golden cut. He discovered already in the 16th century that if you take a picture or painting in his time, you divide it into like a grid, basically 4 lines, creating creating basically on the left-hand side 3 thirds, and you cross it with these 2 lines here, and you place your objects you want to take photos from the perspective what we just had, you place them on the corners or along the lines. And he found out, or in the 16th century, when he draw, that your brain will receive it in a way that you will like the painting or now the photos in a much better way. So this was like a psychological way how our brain functions. You keep this in your head. You also can do it in the cameras. You have settings where the grid is already set up. You just have to get it on the function. You put it on the grid way, and then you always you see the grid and you know exactly how to take the photo. You just go on the bottom right, bottom left, bottom top, and you will get those photos very well designed. See here, if that person would not be there, I go down here and your eye receives it in a different way. If I would put him, let's say here, the photo would be not at all the same. Here, I put them on the right-hand side. I could them also, you have to adapt again the situation, but I put them along the lines. Your eyes would be different if I would just put them here, somewhere in the middle. Same thing here. You need to always to look. But for me, when I go, it's another thing. If you're interested in taking photos, try to think about where to take the photos. If you have a big scene around you, try to think about all the factors I already told you. So try what could actually be nice to take this photo. So in this case, these people were just walking, but I said, okay, I retrieved myself. I saw this big glacier here, this big glacier cave, and you just take the photo where they're while walking them over. Camel, sand dunes, the story is always behind. Look at the lines and follow that. All right. A big issue for many is, so you're coming to a place, you have to be super fast. And you have animals, people moving very fast, and you need to get photos which are not blurry. And I probably guess those of you who've not really took much attention into photography, you got on the nicest spots and you want to take nice photos, and then you come home and say, all these photos are blurry right now, right? Probably many of you they know what I'm talking about. So I highly recommend you, before you go to a place like that, change your settings. Really go and try to get a fast shutter speed. So the faster the shutter opens and closes, the sharper the photos is gonna be. So if you have a SLR, go on the shutter mode, use 1,000th of a second, 2,000, no matter what what camera you have or what the movement is, and then you look at this. These guys, This is in Afghanistan. They have the goat here, and they're full speed, basically riding towards us. And really, like, it's dangerous. We have to stand still because they were riding towards us. My friend Ben, he got hit for one of the horses because a horse kicked him because he moved slightly aside. I remember, Ben, you were blue and red. Ben? Many colors, yes, thank you. So to give the idea, use a fast shutter speed if you want to take photos of movements, and you will be very happy about that because your photos will be sharp from an event like that. Here, same situation. He jumps down the tower, and that means you will have him sharp when you do the same thing. So, one more thing. One is the shutter speed. The next is you use the focus on the person who is moving, or on the group of persons. So if you take the general focus, then the camera will use all the aspects what is there. But you want to hear, in this case, you're not interested in the tower. You want to see this person jumping down. You want to have it sharp. So you need to use the continuous focus. So the camera is following you, and they're following the person who is moving, that it always stays in focus. And then you see, if you keep it in this focus, then you will have the person sharp. If I keep it in the main autofocus, in the general autofocus, then the entire thing is sharp. The chances that this is not sharp is pretty high. So you have to keep the focus here. And that is also a difference if you have mobiles. Mobiles do a lot what DSLRs can do, but that is the difference that only can be really done with an SLR. So for that you really need a good camera. If you take photos at nighttime, of course it's best to have a tripod, but if you don't have a tripod, then you just have to stand still, and if the people are not moving too much, you can just keep your normal shutter speed, which you don't have a high shutter speed, but you stand there and you basically breathe in, take the click, and then their movement, especially here this fire, will be giving that nice shade. So you see here, this only comes because I have this, I just stand here, take the photo, and the movement automatically will give that nice ray of light. Same thing here, Madagascar. You see the animal, they're jumping fast forwards, continuous autofocus, and follow the animal in direction it's going to move. So you take a lot of photos, and that's another thing. If you have a SLR, don't take one photo, take many photos, because you follow with that camera in the direction the animal is moving, and then you just click, and it click, 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 and you'll be sure to get photos like that. Yeah, so keep it in mind. Again, mobiles, I'm sorry, there is mobiles can't do everything. This here, same story, he's jumping down, and imagine this photo would be blurry. I would be totally pissed about that. But look at him, he's just lying in the air about 15 meters in the sky, and you see his eyes, you see his hands before he's touching down on the ground, and he's super fast moving. But if you consider, and if you remember what I just said, and you keep this like that, you will all get photos like that. It's not so difficult. You just have to train a bit and follow that, and this comes out like that. So, a brand new field, a brand new technique, developing extremely fast in the last couple of years. For me, complete game changer in my whole way of taking photos are drones. And for me, drones really gives me a whole new world, because nowadays we have gazillions of photos of angles when we are on the playing field, but the air is giving you a complete new perspective which has not seen before. And drones give you the opportunity to take pictures when pictures have never been taken before. This is an archipelago in the Tuamotu Islands. It's a panorama photo. It's a set of 24 photos. The drone takes all stitches, all these 24 photos together, and you get the entire circle of the atoll in one photo. 5 years ago, or it's like 6 years ago, impossible to imagine that is even possible. Because if you even would have had a helicopter, a regular camera would be very difficult to keep it steady. A drone is different. A drone stays up there. It's 500 meters in the air. It's 2.5 kilometers away from where I'm standing on the boat down there, and you get that entire angle. Has not been seen before. Saying that, for all of you who starts taking photos with a drone, the first and most important advice to you, I highly recommend that to you, before you go on any trip, before you do any sort of this sort of fantastic exploration, stay at home, pack out the drone, read the manual, and then train. And really train how a drone works, what you can do with a drone. This is a very sensitive material. It's a very, very incredible, unique place, because before you needed a helicopter, you needed all sorts of technique. Nowadays it's 250 grams, it's so small, and it can do everything, which was impossible to imagine many years before, or some years before. So you really need to, you don't need to, but you should really learn about how a drone functions. You learn about also, and that is the most important thing, when it becomes critical. Because all the normal flights, you're going up and down the air, easy. But you have to think about happening when you're going up, you're going away, and suddenly something is not working. For example, the connection is missing. That's something that people always get in stress. Oh, I have no more connection. I'm 2 kilometers away. I have only 30% left. If the drone, you won't find it again, that it can happen. But stay cool, really try to be calm, try to get it back, and really don't get hyperactive. The drone will always fly back, the modern drones always fly back to you if you are focused on it, what you're doing. And I've so far never lost a drone because I always try to stay really cool and easy with it. Yeah. So really, the trainment before is the first thing and the biggest advice I can give you, because there's probably some of you who have had that experience. You buy a drone. My microphone is not really working. So you buy the drone and then you lose it. Absolutely disaster. That's not what you're gonna have. And then you will be happy if you have working out before. So what can you do with a drone? Crazy stuff. So you see me, I'm standing here and I fly out, and you see, you would never be able to see the world as you see on this photo, because you would say only this little island, you see a blue sky, a blue ocean, but you would never see all the corals underneath. That's a drone, what can do only drones. Here, we're standing here, you fly up. If you're in that scenery, in that landscape, you will not see these incredible colors that canyon had to offer. So the perspective is a complete new one, and I really only can advise you, just this is, if you like photography, drone is really something very special. And coming up with that, please always respect local laws. I have my minister here, she would probably agree on that. The last thing you want to do is disrespect the local laws. You have to keep up with what they require, but on the same time, if it's possible, use it. You don't want to have you get in prison, or I had, unfortunately, just get my drone confiscated, even I didn't want to fly because I had to cross a country. This could happen, but if you respect the laws and you can fly, you still get fantastic material out of it. Again here, you take all what I said before, you put a perspective on the boat, and you see the coral. Imagine that such a photo before did not exist. No helicopter in that region. This is like angles never seen before. By the way, this is a place in Mangistau. You're down here, not see colors as when you're in the air. You see this. It looks like paint, una pintura. Oh, in the jungle of Venezuela, we're going through the marshlands, and it's super dense, super tight there. But you fly up in the air, and you give the perspective of where we were going through is a complete different one. You see the boat, and we have to go through all the channels for a couple of hours to actually reach the Yanomamis. You would never have been able to take that perspective beforehand, and that's really makes it so special. The colors always shine out in a different way, and you don't need to do too much for the settings. You know, you just keep the settings normally from the drones are so well already in the drone, so you don't need to look so much how the aperture, the speed is. The drone is doing that for you. So you only need to know where to go. If you want to take video, you take photo, very easy. You just click 2 buttons, you're set there. Be creative. Huh? This photo was last year. I was like on the top 5 travel photographers in the world. This photo was chosen for that. These are Yanomami children, and they were building a whole circle. And they're all holding hands, and the sun was going down. I said, oh, this would be a great idea. You know, you take the silhouettes of the children, of all, like this is only half of it, also the entire circle. And the photo here and this one will especially be effective if you don't look in the horizon. Instead, you're going up and you take the camera, you look straight down. Because if you look straight down, your angle changes and you can create lines which would never looking like that if you would look in the horizon. So the camera goes up, the gimbal is what holds the camera. It's completely stable, by the way, because the camera is hold up. Whatever wind happens, the photos will always be sharp. The gimbal always hold, so there's no issue with that. So you go look straight down, and that is what you can create with it. Anybody know who that island is? Not those who have been there. Pitcairn, yes. We were the first people who ever have been taking, there's some more here who've been on this trip, ever take an aerial photo of Pitcairn Island. So far away from the rest of the world, no helicopter, no airplane, so you always see it from the sea land, and all of you who've been there, you know what I'm talking about. This is like the first, like my photo, but I think the other here is as well, ever aerial photo of Pitcairn Island. Fantastic drones. As you can see, now finally you see how it looks from the air. All right, next one, sand dunes would be even more interesting. Unfortunately, only Niger allows you to take drones into the country. All the other countries is off limit. But you see, like, if I would have a wish, I would take a drone into Algeria, Libya, into Mauritania, because the photos you get, we were in Niger, flying with a drone in the sand dunes is spectacular, absolutely spectacular, because it's so beautiful. And maybe in the future. So, a few general takeaways for every one of you who has a mobile phone or just general things. If you go in a house, in a church, in a building, you have no tripod. Set up the ISOs. ISO is the activity of the sensor. So if you want to have, let's say, a church photographed and you don't want to have a blurry photo, just go on ISO, go from the regular into a higher ISO number, and then the sensitivity will be bigger, and then you can create photos which are crystal clear and sharp. It's very easy, because the change before to the camera some years ago, when you went up with the ISOs, the sensors were not good enough, and they created all these clusters, and the photos you couldn't use anymore. Nowadays, all the modern phones, all the modern SLRs, they have the sensors so well that you can take always sharp photos, because you can increase the ISO and you will still get sharp photos on SLRs and on mobiles. Another issue, some people, Joao, who travel with me, never try to cut off the feet or the hands or sometimes even the head. Look at the photo, what you're gonna take. So really look, and please see, are the feet there? Yes, the feet are there, I can take the feet. For me, I've been so sensitive with that, because so often you're in this beautiful place, you want to take a group photo, and they take all the body of you, and they cut the feet off. It doesn't look good. So think about that and always say, yes, the feet are there, now I can take the photo. Look if the hands are there. Look, if you don't cut anything off, your photos will be much better. And everybody can do that. Just remember that. A technique, if you, like, as I just said, in an indoor area and you want to basically take nice photos and want to be sure that it's sharp, it's very easy. You just breathe in and out. And at the last moment, when you're breathing out before you start breathing in again, then your pulse and your hand shaking will be the least. So in the moment you're breathing out, click. You will be sure the quality of your photo will be much better, because your hands are less shaking. If you take the camera and it's dark and you just click, it will be much more likely that the photo is unsharp. So use click. Photos are like 5 times more likely to be sharp. Another thing, for those of you taking photos with a mobile, I always highly recommend you don't save on mobiles. Don't save on the cost of a mobile, because the quality has been increasing the last couple of years so much that the cameras inside are extremely good. They are extremely well developed, and they're really coming very close to SLRs. And if you only travel with a mobile, always try to get the latest model. They mostly increase not the mobile himself, but always the cameras. And if you think this is like all what you need, take always the best, latest model, and you will be always happy with that. Because imagine you use a mobile for like 2 years, and you count it down for all the photos you take, for all the time you use it, it's probably about $2 a day, $3 a day. But think about if this is all the souvenirs you get, the photos, all the memories from your trips. You want to have the best photo of that. This is what reminds you on these wonderful trips why we all are here, why we are traveling around the world. So this is something I would really say, don't save on the mobiles. Try to get the latest ones, because that is an investment which is worth every cent. What I said before, and I say it again, think about the light. Morning, evening, and blue hour. 3 hours, 3 times of it. Organize the timing when you travel. That's, for example, what I do. I always try to arrive on a spot late afternoon, that I can take photos in the the sunset, and then I stay in the morning for sunrise, and then after that I continue traveling. So wherever I go, I take a lot of photos of UNESCO sites. I always try to drive during the day, that I arrive in the afternoon, take my photos in the afternoon with a different angle, different light, get up in the morning, do the photos in the morning, which is again, different light, different situation, and you will get you get 2 different angles, 2 different lighting situation, and fine. And another thing, if I have an editor for one magazine, and an editor from another magazine, photography is very subjective. You can follow those lines and guidelines, what I just showed you, and you will be on the right spot. But always think you have to like your photos. It's not only for all the other people. If you like a photo, if you are creative, you're happy with it. So just, it's so individual, it's so subjective what people like and don't like. Some people like it's fully saturated photos, some people like it desaturated. It's a question of taste, subjective. And therefore, really just use whatever you like to use, however you think that's the right way to do it. And the last thing for me, and that's really the only thing what we are all some sort of ambassadors, some of the most traveled people in the world. So for us, it's up to us. We have communities, and I find it's important for us, and it's not a big deal. But we go to all these people, we go to all these tribes and all these different variations of people. Be kind, be and show them your dignity. That we go there and we respect how they are, the way they're living, and don't just go in a place, walk out and think, oh, I've paid for that and I want to have my photo and that's it. I think for us, being all here, having influence on other people, it's really important that we give them a smile, and I'm sure you get 100 smiles back. And for that, go up and shoot. And thank you very much to you, and I'm very thankful for you paying me attention today, and thank you very much.